Hello again everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to the channel if you are new here, and here we are with another Sims 4 speed building video. Today we are building a horse ranch in Chestnut Ridge on this 64 by 64 lot. Yes, 64 by 64. Who am I? Who is she? I feel like a changed human being, honestly. I've been wanting to build a horse ranch like this for the longest time. This build has been sat on my build list for what seems like forever, and I'd just like to apologize that it's taken me so long to build something like this for you all, because I genuinely had the best time building this. I really did. I almost didn't want the process to end, but obviously I did, because with it ending means me being able to share it with you all as well. So it was kind of bittersweet. The last time I had this much fun building something was when I built my recreation centre just a few weeks ago. So what I'll do is I'll pop a card in the top right hand corner for you, if that's something that you haven't seen as of yet. But that was also another big build, not quite as big as this. I would say it's a different kind of build, not on as big a lot, but there were definitely a lot of elements to it. But yeah, I had the best time, honestly. Now what I will do, just because we are working on the exterior structure for the family house at the moment, is I will pop on the screen now for you the reference image that I found on Pinterest that kind of inspired this whole idea, really. And then as we're moving across the ranch, I will be putting up another reference image for you, because I actually took some inspiration from another creator for other elements of the ranch. So I'd like to properly credit them and definitely point out which parts I decided to put in my ranch, but also kind of make my own as well. So yeah, the house itself is 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. There's a lot of space. Now I will apologize in advance, because the bump outs on the top they're not usable, but they could be if you wanted them to be. The only reason that I decided not to make them usable spaces was because, first of all, the roofing was clipping into the rooms. Now if you've been around the channel for a while, you'll know that really does irritate me, because if I'm playing, which doesn't happen often, granted it doesn't happen often, but if I'm playing, I do not like seeing like the roof clip in. I don't. And I even tried to rectify it off camera and I just could not do it. So then it got me thinking. I was like, well, hang on a second. There's so much room in this house. Like when we move on to the interior of this house, you will see just what I'm talking about. But with the fact that we've been able to add 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in here, I was kind of thinking, well, if your Sims are living on a horse ranch, they're going to have, in my opinion, 2 or 3 horses. Okay. Then I imagined, okay, so let's imagine there are 2 horses. Then there are 2 parents. Then there are 3 kids. That's 7. And then a family pet, like a dog or a cat. Obviously, there's room for you to make amendments as and where you feel you need to, depending on the family dynamic that you have. But I was thinking in my mind, well, all I would be doing upstairs is just adding more bedrooms. But then that means, obviously, horses take up space in your household as like an actual sim. You can only have up to 8 without mods. You know, the game, by default, you can only have up to 8 Sims. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, I can add more bedrooms up there, but it's kind of pointless because it's a horse ranch and we're going to have at least anywhere between 1 and 3 horses. So that's the reason for that. But what I will say is that the house itself, it makes complete sense as well inside. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually move on to the interior. But as you can see, the main structure itself actually came together really quickly, which I was quite shocked at, to be completely honest, because it's something that I'm not usually or typically comfortable building. So it came together quickly, which I was very thankful for. Truly I was. I started adding these kind of pine trees, which then I do swap out. What was I going to say then? Swap out, because it was looking a little bit too lodgy for me, and I wanted this house to be more ranchy. So I think, you know, with the fact that we've gone for the exterior wallpaper that we have, it already looks a little bit like a lodge. So I didn't want to start adding pine trees and things like that, because otherwise it kind of looks like it belongs in Granite Falls and not Chestnut Ridge. So I do change that. I can't remember if it's on camera or off camera. because I do make some changes here and there off camera, but I'll try and point them out as and when I kind of do them. And then you'll notice as well when we do the walkthrough, the live walkthrough at the end, I'll kind of point them out as well there. But yes, I hope you're locked in an hour and a half. Wait, are you going to really hang out with me for an hour and a half? We shall see. I hope you do, genuinely, because I've already restarted this voiceover about 5 or 6 times just because I was losing my voice or I was coughing and I just thought, you know what, let's just start. I can always do it in breaks if I need to. So like I could do half an hour, and then half an hour. And yeah, we'll just kind of see how it works out. I think I need to stop being so harsh on myself. But I don't know if anyone's in agreement with me here that it was looking very lodge-like. So I do switch out temporarily for these trees here. I think these are just debug ones from base game, to be completely honest. But I like them. It's just, I don't know, they don't really fit, I don't think. And then what I end up doing as well is I end up moving the house back into the right hand corner, just because that made a lot more sense for me to have more room in the front for the paddocks, the training areas, the big red barn, and also like all these different areas that we'll be talking about when I actually start building them. But I wanted to get the main house done first, because obviously if the house is too small, I mean, the house could definitely be smaller. I've seen people build ranches with much smaller houses than this one, and it definitely works. It looks fantastic, and I think in terms of gameplay it's fine as well. But I really wanted to offer that more, you know, like big family kind of element. And it also meant for me and for gameplay, if you have 2 parents and you know, they both run the ranch, maybe they could pass the ranch down when they pass to their kids, if the kids are interested. Now, I imagined that the kids in this house, which I'll talk a little bit more about in depth when we move on to the interior sort of designing process and the furnishing, etc. But I think the kids that live here, they love horses, they love living on this ranch, so I don't think it would be an issue for this particular family to hand down the ranch to the kids. But you know, you might want to play out a storyline whereby the kids or child, whatever the family dynamic is, they have no intention of taking over the ranch. They don't like living on a ranch. It's just not their scene. It's not their thing. They might want to move to the city or just do something completely different with their lives. So I think it'd just be a really interesting kind of storyline to try and play out. Now, something that I did do, and I had the best time actually. At this point of me recording this particular voiceover, I can't remember what I've shared on my posts tab on YouTube versus what I haven't shared, and then versus what I've also shared over on Instagram, because I'm quite active on Instagram as well and sharing stories and things like that. But I actually downloaded 3 horses from the gallery, as well as like a cowboy sim to test out this lot, just to see if the sim could fill up the hay feeds and navigate around the house, and to make sure that there was plenty of activities for the horses to get involved in, such as prairie grass and things like that, and the ball and the barrel racing and the jumps, etc, etc. And honestly, it really did spark an idea in me, and I was like, hang on a minute, am I wanting to either create a let's play for this, or am I wanting to play off camera and then do some sort of update with you all? Like, is this really happening right now, or is this not? I just got really excited about it. So for me, if I'm building something and it really just sparks something in me, and I'm like, actually I want to play in this build, that means I've done something right, you know? So what I'll do now is I will pop this particular reference image from this incredibly talented simmer/creator. Again, I think it's either simmer indie or cozy. I'm gonna have to look this up to make sure that I'm not misremembering this creator. Okay, so I've actually seen 2 different usernames for this, but it's the same person. I'm almost 100% positive it's the same person. They've just perhaps changed their name. So it's either cozy indie or simmer indie. So that reference image has already gone up on the screen for you. So you can see I definitely took inspiration for that red barn. I loved the bump outs at the top. I thought that was genius. And then I also loved just the general layout for the rest of the ranch, deciding to sort of push the main family house into that top right hand corner, and then have I mean, I made some changes here and there, but I've got barrel racing at the back. I've got the stables sort of coming off the barn with an extra paddock where the horses can just kind of chill out if you're not riding them and they just need some socialization time with other horses, or they just need to rest. They've got access to the barn there as well. And then we've got the jumps as the main kind of area. And then I also added between the house and the jumping arena. It's not really an arena, it's more just like a fenced in, it's a big fenced in kind of area, but it's where there's 2 sets of jumps where Sims can practice. So I also added like a patch of the cottage living, like where you plant all your vegetables and fruits and things like that. So I also decided to add that here in case you really wanted to have that kind of farm experience. I almost added somewhere for chickens, but I decided against it. I'm not really sure why looking back. So if you want to add chickens somewhere, you can definitely do that if you want to. I think when I was playtesting this, everything worked quite well in terms of locking certain gates for certain horses and certain Sims so they don't really venture off the lot. Because something that I did notice, I actually forgot while I was building this, not building it, while I was playtesting it, I forgot to lock the back door of this barn. And like one of the horses had just gone into the field over there onto the left, and I was like, what are you doing? So I would definitely recommend, as the player, you know, kind of experimenting with different areas and which horses you want where and things like that. We've also got like this little area here is I would class it as like just the normal paddock. There's nothing to really do in here other than we do have some, I'm going to loosely call them stables at the back. Now this is what this creator that I've already mentioned had done as well, and I thought it worked beautifully because it means that we can have some horse beds at the back there. We've also got some water troughs and some hay dispensers, and that's definitely what they're called, not what they're called, sorry, they're called hay something. Anyway, so I put them there. There's also a ball in here for your horses to play with, but I think that's something that I add off camera. I definitely don't add it here. And then also some prairie grass just under the tree too. And then I also thought it was a really cute idea to put this little debug trailer. I ended up putting that just on the left hand side of here as well. And then we also end up adding a big tree as well as bales of hay and then a tractor as well, which I just thought added to the whole overall aesthetic. I thought it looked fantastic. So these are the stables, but we've also got access to the barn, which does end up being red, because although I don't really mind how it looks at the moment, like with it being this kind of more dulled down brown wood effect colour, for me, I much prefer more kind of vibrant, typically more vibrant kind of colours and playing around with different textures and things like that in my builds. So it didn't really feel right, so I do end up changing it to a red one. And I think I was definitely I was heavily influenced by Cozy Indie / Simmer Indie for that, so thank you so much. I'm not quite sure what's happened to them actually, because I looked them up on YouTube and they haven't uploaded for quite some time, so I'm not sure whether they're active in the community or not anymore, but I definitely still wanted to give them credit where it was due, because if I hadn't have come across those reference images, like, this would not have looked the way it does for sure. So yeah, definitely wanted to give proper credit there. And I also wanted to, for the stables, they're not really stables, like they are, but they don't really look like stables, I don't think. They're just more of stalls, probably is how I would categorize these as. I wanted to add them in there to make sure the horses had somewhere to sleep and rest, because that's very important. I wanted to make sure each of the horses had their own access to hay as well as some water outside as well. And then obviously with the red barn, or as it currently stands, the barn, it's not red at the moment, I wanted to make sure that they had space in there to rest as well. So you as the player can just decide where the horses want to be. Maybe you've got like a little routine going with them, and I just wanted to make sure that there was plenty of things for you and your Sims to be doing here. You know, it's really important with, I think, a lot like this, that it doesn't just look like there's a lot to do, but you actually have things that you need to do to be able to run this ranch successfully. So yeah, I just wanted to, every time I thought of something, I was like, oh, I need to add that. So for example, at the back end of the the video, which is a long time away. It's still over an hour away. I actually end up adding a picnic basket to the back of the house underneath one of these huge, beautiful trees, because I was like, oh, your Sims can enjoy a picnic out there. There's planter boxes at the back as well. We've got a barbecue. There's a little bench as well for your Sims to enjoy. Like, I was just trying to think of all these different things that, you know, I could add here. But currently we're actually building the jumping arena, not an arena, as I've just said, or said not too long back, the jumping arena, quote unquote, using that term very loosely here. So this is where your Sims can train with their horses. And initially it was really funny actually, because when I was playtesting this, I wanted to have 2 horses in the pasture, and then I wanted to have like a cowboy Sim jumping over these jumps for the thumbnail, because I was like, oh, that's gonna look so good if I can get that just right. I'm telling you now, I did it at the wrong time of day. If you know, you know. And then when the correct time of day rolled around for me to actually take the thumbnail screenshot, my Sim would mount the horse and then just immediately like glitch off it. So I reset, like as debug, I reset both the Sim and the horse in hopes that that would help and work. No, it did not. So unfortunately on the thumbnail, I don't know if anyone even saw or if anyone wants to make reference to it, because it's actually quite funny. My Sim, instead of riding the horse over the jumps, which is what I really wanted them to do, he's stood just brushing the horse in the middle of this paddock / arena with the jumps in. Like, come on. That is not what I anticipated would happen, but why am I surprised? I have no idea. But yeah, I just found it so funny, and I thought, oh, that's classic Sims, especially since, haven't we just had a recent update where they've apparently fixed 150 of these like these problems that we've had? Like, whatever, clearly there's a problem with the horses somewhere, or it might just be a me thing. I'm not entirely sure. Have any of you played with horses recently? Like properly, not like me where I'm just playtesting stuff. Have you actually played with them properly? And is this a thing? Because if it's a thing, they need to fix it, because if your Sims can't ride horses, that's a big problem as far as I'm concerned, especially when, you know, like the whole point of having horses in the Sims is that you get to enjoy riding them, you know. Anyway, this is where we change the barn to a red swatch. Look how much better this looks, especially with the contrasting house with it being like that dark wood. I just think it looks so good, honestly. Love the big barn doors opening up so you can see right through it. I think it looks fantastic, honestly. I really do. I'm so pleased with this. And again, I'd love to make a proper family to live in this house. I really would. Not, like I said, not me considering doing a let's play. Like, again, who am I? And this is where I start experimenting with a little bit of landscaping as well, which I think, to be honest, in Chestnut Ridge it is sort of difficult. It is, genuinely. And to be honest, I'm not sure if that's just a me thing or if that's something that everybody struggles with. Also, if you realize that I took a miniature break there, it's because I was like about to sneeze, and then I had to stop recording and then sneeze and then come straight back. And also my office is getting rather warm, so I've had to open the door. So I'm hoping none of my dogs kick off, nothing goes wrong, and I can just hopefully get this done in one sitting, because I've still got an hour to go. I've still got an hour of talking. You still have me for a while. Not to worry, that's if you're still here. Wouldn't blame you if you weren't. But yes, like this is already taking shape. It's already looking really good, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to experiment with different landscaping pieces, because as I was trying to explain earlier, it's a little bit of a challenge, I think, in Chestnut Ridge, because like we're building on one of the grassy areas of this particular world right now, but a lot of this world I think is kind of dry and almost desert-like, and I think the landscaping definitely reflects that even on the grassy areas. So I do find it a little bit more challenging, especially because I like my landscaping to be quite vibrant and quite lush and green. And I think almost with Chestnut Ridge, it's kind of not like that. So I did struggle just a little bit, but I think that the lot does quite a good job of blending into the surrounding world. I think I did a pretty good job with that, in truth. And I just start pulling out some debug items from the horse ranch pack because it's been a while. As I was explaining at the beginning, it's been a while since I've built anything in Chestnut Ridge. I think the last time I was here, we're looking at years ago, easily. And when the pack first came out, I built a lot in this world. And like looking back, I was looking back on the builds actually, and I've never built, like I said, like I was trying to explain, I've never built anything like this. Like never, ever built anything like this. So for me to build this, it was so refreshing. And as I said, as a lover of horses in real life, it was just a really nice thing for me to do, honestly. And then when I went onto the gallery to play test it and I was downloading the horses, I was like, oh, they're so cute. Like the Sims team really did a good job with the horses, I think. Like, could there be improvements made? Yeah, of course there could, like just like with anything, right? But they really did a good job. And like when I was trying to take the screenshot, one of them was like rolling around in one of the paddocks, and it was really cute. It was so wholesome. But yeah, this is when I decided to add the barrel racing at the back and then just have this particular paddock as the jumping paddock. I just thought it made the most sense to have the spaces kind of separated off. But something that you could actually do, and something that I've just thought about, you could definitely swap out one of the jumps for the barrels, remove both the barrels from the back, and you could have chickens, cows and goats back there, because they've also got access to the barn as well, which would be kind of cool. So I'm thinking if you didn't want to kind of change anything too much on the lot, if you're really happy with how it looks overall, that's something that you could definitely do. So that versatility piece is definitely still there. I also wanted to add a green roof to this barn because I don't know, it just looks really good with a green roof, I think. Please someone jump in if they disagree. But I thought this looked really cute. And yeah, I love building red barns in The Sims, honestly. I think I went through a bit of a phase of doing it when the pack initially came out, but not sharing them because I couldn't get it right. I could not get anything right with, I knew what I wanted to try and do, but every time I tried to build one, it just didn't look correct. Plain and simple, it just didn't. So I was really pleased that I actually got to add one in here. And then this is when I don't know what these are actually called. They're from Cottage Living, and they allow your Sims to plant, like I said, fruits and vegetables, flowers and things of that nature. So if your Sims wanted to use this lot as more of a farm rather than a ranch and just have another sort of revenue for money, then they can definitely plant some pieces in here. I got my Sim to do it, so I just wanted to make sure that it was functional and everything was fine. So I'm not sure how that works in terms of downloading. Someone please let me know, because if I've planted things in here with my Sim, when you download the lot from the gallery, does that mean that you get those? I hope so. I think that would be kind of cool. But if not, I suppose it's no big deal, because the stuff that I've planted, you might not have wanted there, you know? So yeah, I just think that'd be kind of interesting. So if anyone could let me know, that would be really good. And then I can keep it in mind for the future as well. And also, I was thinking about this actually when I just finished playtesting, and I thought, I know you can, in the build buy catalog, you can buy seed packets, and I need to start actually putting them near there so that you can literally just start the game, open up the packets and get everything planted, rather than having to go through that manual churn of going through the catalog, buying the packets yourselves. So yeah, something that I'm definitely going to keep in mind for next time I build a lot that's similar to this. I would love, and I'm not promising anything, but there's a few builds on my build list for the summertime, and one of them's a community pool, because I've never built one before, so expect that relatively soon. And another one is a horse ranch, but not a ranch, not like a USA ranch. I would say this is like definitely more of an American inspired ranch. I'd love to build like a more English, like typical English horse I don't know what you would call it. I suppose you'd still call it a ranch, right? We still call it a ranch? I'm not entirely sure. But I'd love to build a more British-inspired one in Henford-on-Bagley. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, then please let me know. Or if you're happy, this is the horse ranch that I've built for the year and we're all happy with it, like, not to worry. I just thought it might be kind of interesting to look at the different architectural styles and things like that with the USA versus the British ones. But anyway, and then I also go into the cottage living debug menu and grab some of these grass pieces because I think it makes the grass look a little less flat. I think when you're working on a lot as big as this, these are, I think, extremely important, you know? I think they're extremely important. So yeah, I decided to add these all over the lot, and I think they make a world of difference. Honestly, I do. So and then I'll tell you what else makes a world of difference, and it's something that I haven't added just yet. It's terrain paint. Now, I don't want to jinx anything, but again, if you've been around the channel for a while, it's been a gripe of mine, an absolute gripe of mine, that I seem to have had this same glitch / bug for years, and I know other people have had it as well, where if you're building in The Sims 4 and you add terrain paint, you save the game, you come out of it, you come back to it a day or two later or whenever it may be, and you return to the lot, all the terrain paint is gone. And it really used to upset me because terrain paint, it's not something that you know, is a really quick and easy thing to do. It really does take time and patience. And so I used to get really, really annoyed with it. And I just used to think, hang on a minute, I've just spent ages terrain painting this particular lot and now it's disappeared. Now, again, I don't want to jinx anything here, but I would just like to announce that has not happened to me for about a month at this point. So I'm not sure if that's something that's been fixed, because if it has, hallelujah, honestly, because if it's been fixed, I will be so thankful. Genuinely, I will be so thankful, because that's possibly one of the most annoying building glitches that we have had in this game for, like I said, as long as I can remember. It's been years at this point. It's been years. And now I can't complain about it. Hopefully. We shall see. I will report back when I'm doing a little bit more building in The Sims 4, but we'll sort of see how we go. Anyway, the kind of the surrounding landscape of the ranch is pretty much done. Sorry, at this point. Ooh, what are we in? I'm not even half an hour in, and I'm struggling to talk. This is going to go well. And now we've moved on to the back of the house. We're adding a porch at the back, and also obviously the windows, because it'd be a little bit strange if there were no windows at the back of the house. And I've spoken about this on the channel many times, so if you are not new here, I'm so sorry for repeating myself, but if you are new here, then there's something that you need to know about me as someone who builds in The Sims a lot. And it's, I am not going to continue working on the back of a build, i.e. adding windows, adding details, adding whatever, if I don't like the front of it. So I have to make sure that the build is going to be a build that I actually want to continue working on, which is why I haven't done any detailing on the back of the house until this point, because I had to make sure that this was a lot that I wanted to share. I had to make sure this was a lot I wanted to continue working on. Thankfully it was, so I was able to move on to the back of the house, and that just cements in my brain. I then go, oh, fantastic, great, I can just keep working on this now. which is wonderful. So yeah, we just change a few different things on the house, add a few more details. I was tempted to add some window shutters, and then I was like, no, don't do that, Rachel, because I feel like I add window shutters to, let's be realistic, 90% of my build at this point. So I was like, don't do that. And also, I feel like the window shutters would have kind of gotten lost just because, sorry, of the pattern and texture of the external wallpaper that we decided to go for, which I believe came from Horse Ranch. I very nearly used the one from Adventure Awaits because we got some really nice wooden siding with Adventure Awaits actually, and I feel like I've used that quite recently as well. And Horse Ranch isn't a pack, unless I'm building in Chestnut Ridge, it's not really a pack that I tend to use very often because it's beautiful. I love the Build and Buy catalogue, but unless you're building either a farmhouse or a ranch, for me a lot of the build and buy, if not most of it, doesn't really fit within like more of a normal setting, if that makes sense. I hope I'm being fair there, and I hope I'm not just like dismissing the build and buy catalog for Horse Ranch, because I'm genuinely not. I think when this pack came out, I thought it was so strong, but what I'm trying to say is it's niche. You know, if you're not building a ranch or a farmhouse, the items don't really work, in my opinion. The odd item might, like, you know, just the odd item might be okay, but anyway. So this is when I start adding more detailing to the terrain paint, and I think adding this detailing really did make a lot of difference, at least in my opinion. It made a lot of difference. It made the sand look a little bit less sharp, is possibly the word I would use. And then I also wanted to add some sort of terrain detailing underneath where all the areas I imagined your Sims and your horses would spend most of their time, so that obviously it looks like the grass is kind of trodden and worn, and I just think that added a little bit more realism. So what I ended up doing is I ended up actually like layering I think 3 or 4 different types of terrain. One of which was from Horse Ranch, because obviously if you're working in Chestnut Ridge, the terrain paint is in the surrounding environment, so it just helps your lot blend in a little bit better, as I was talking about at the beginning. And yeah, so what you're seeing here is minus a few details that I'm pretty sure I had off camera. It's pretty much kind of the finished product in terms of the exterior of the house. And then what's really funny actually is when we move on to the interior, I spoke about this in my last video. I started on the living room, and I think I worked on the living room for either 35 or 40 minutes, which is, I think, actually a really long time. Yes, it's quite a big room, but still, like 35 or 40 minutes. Hello? So that part of the footage is quite long, so I'd like to apologize in advance for that. But then I got my groove, you know, I got into my thing, and I kind of, you know, was able to just kind of work out what I wanted to do, really. So overall I'm pretty pleased with it, but yeah, you'll see just how big this house is when we actually move on to the interior, and I'm hoping nobody yells at me for not decorating the upstairs. Please don't yell at me. I'm begging you, please don't yell at me until you've seen the interior of the house, and then I'm hoping you'll understand my thought process and exactly what I was trying to achieve with this house. Please, I'm hoping so bad that that's the case. But yeah, I'm just adding a little bit more detailing to this sand to make it look a little less blinding, because when you zoomed out it was like, whoa, that's like really orange sand. So I wanted to add just more, yeah, just more sort of texture to it to make it look like it's a bit more worn and used. But actually, yeah, we work on the barn first. I forgot about this. Yeah, I almost forgot that I actually turned this barn into a usable space. So this is the red barn. How many times can I say barn in a minute? And yeah, I was quite pleased with this, actually. I think I found just an image on Google of, like, I literally Googled big red barn interior, and no word of a lie, this is kind of what, give or take a few different, like, you know, design choices, sorry, that I actually went for. It pretty much looked like this, and I was like, oh, okay, so we've got some like stalls again, so we've got separate areas for the animals. Again, for the horses, yes, absolutely, but if you're wanting to add goats, chickens, etc., I'm not sure how goats work in The Sims 4, actually. Can someone please explain them to me? I know for a fact, well, I say I know for a fact, I'm saying it with hesitation actually, but when you can have as many goats as you want, they don't actually count as like a sim in the household, right? That's right. And did goats come with Horse Ranch? The Horse Ranch pack? I need to know, because they're so cute. Honestly, they're such a cute addition to the game. But I was thinking that, like, maybe if you wanted to keep goats, you can use a couple of the stalls in here if you wanted to. And yeah, I just thought that was a nice idea. I also add some hay detailing onto the ground as well. These are in the rug category, which I always find really funny, because I suppose technically in The Sims 4, yes, they are classed as rugs, but obviously in real life, I'm not sure I would want like a pile of hay in my living room, you know. But whatever. I just thought, again, it added that extra level of detailing that I think these stalls were kind of screaming out for. And I also loved adding those 3 red lights down the middle as well. I thought that was fantastic. And I think I also end up adding some extra lighting because the red lights really don't offer much in terms of you being actually being able to see what you're doing, which I find quite frustrating. So I did add a couple of the teeny weeny little saucer lights that I always add in my builds, just for a little bit more. Obviously delete them if it's just a bit too blinding for you, but I really just needed to see what I was doing, in truth. So that's why I decided to add them in here. I also added some storage boxes for your Sims to store just whatever they want in, really. I thought that was kind of a nice gameplay addition. I'm not sure. I think you can just store pretty much whatever you like in these boxes, which I think is really good. And then I just add some more details, so like these cleaning supplies for the barn, which I think works quite well. And then we go back into the Horse Ranch catalogue and I find these. So like these are where you sort of hang the bridles, and then we've also got the cleaning supplies on the wall as well, which I thought was a nice idea. And yeah, it's a really cute space. I like the barn a lot, I really do. I think it turned out really nicely. So you'll have to let me know what you think of this one. And also let me know if I've missed anything in here as well. I did add a few chairs in here because I thought you Sims might just want to have a seat, hang out, just enjoy the horses' company and things like that. And I also added some prairie grass because my amazing friend Miss Simrino, who I'm sure you all know by now, I asked her on Discord, I was like, do I need to add anything else? Because she's such a game player. She's an amazing builder, but she's also an amazing like game player as well. She was like, make sure you add prairie grass for the horses. And honestly, that would have been something that I would have not even considered adding. So thank you so much, April. I really appreciate the recommendation there. So again, just another thing for your Sims and your horses to do. And then I think all I add in here now are just a couple more chairs, and then off camera I also add some hay just kind of scattered down that middle aisle as well, because I thought it was a bit strange that there wasn't like any signs of any like bits of hay. I just thought it looked a little bit too clean, I think I suppose, sorry, what I was trying to say. A couple of these hay bales as well from Cottage Living, which I think also can be used as chairs, which I thought was kind of fun. So maybe Sims can just go and hang out in there and just, you know, like I said, enjoy the horses' company. So we've actually now moved on to the house itself, and this is where I attempt to floor plan said house because I struggle with single build houses in The Sims, and I know in terms of gameplay they are fantastic. Having a single story house for gameplay is like a godsend. And obviously, yes, we've got the upper floor, but it's not accessible, which, you know, I won't go into why again because I've already explained it. But as you can see, we already have enough space. So it just took me a little while to try and figure out how to divvy up each of the spaces where I wanted to have sort of like the living quarters and then the sleeping quarters, as it were. So on the left, we've got the bathrooms and the bedrooms. And then on the right, we've got the dining room, the kitchen, and also the living room as well. And I think it just works out a little bit better when you kind of separate the spaces like that. And for gameplay as well, I think it works. But like as I said at the beginning, if you wanted to make the upstairs usable, the hallway is huge. So all you would need to do is add a set of stairs and then, you know, kind of do what you want to do with the upper floor. I think that could work out quite nicely. But there was really no need for me to go to that upper floor. It would have just been wasted space, and it's, you know, like wasted energy, I guess, for me as well, like doing bedrooms, like additional bedrooms where I just didn't feel the need. If you've got a horse ranch, you don't just have one horse, I wouldn't have thought. So I think the way that I looked at it is the correct way. Someone please correct me if they disagree, which is, you know, if you do, that's absolutely fine. But for me, in my head, it kind of made sense. And you've also got to consider as well the size of the lot itself. Do you really want to be going up and down the stairs with your Sims all the time? Or is it a better experience for you and your Sims to have just one floor that they can concentrate on? I personally think the latter. I also considered as well with the red barn, I also considered adding some ladders to the upper floor where you could store some bits. But again, if that's something that you want to do, you just need to add a ladder. The upstairs is painted, it's ready to go. You just kind of need to do what you need to do, really. But yes, anyway, I digress. I digress. We've moved on to the living room. This is the room that probably, I'm looking at the footage now, actually. Let me just say, categorically takes me the longest time to figure out, which I always find is the case when I'm building something that's more outside of my comfort zone than usual. The first room that I work on is always the room that takes the longest time, because I'm trying to figure out a colour scheme, item placement, a general theme, and everything. So I knew I was going to use a lot of items from the Horse Ranch pack, because as I was explaining, what's it going to be, 15-20 minutes ago at this point, as I was explaining, this pack, it was made for a house like this. It really was. So I wanted to try and utilize, as many of the items as I possibly could. And you can see it took me a little while there to figure out, actually, yeah, this is a big space. We can have 2 sofas on either side, and then we can have a couple of armchairs at the back here, which I think works really nicely. Something else that I love about the interior of this house as well are the archways with the barn doors. I just thought, oh my goodness, honestly, I love that rustic look in a house. Like, if I could build my dream house in The Sims or in real life, I'm pretty sure those doors would make an appearance somewhere in there. Genuinely. I like in real life, actually, something that I really like doing in terms of, like, I'm going to use the term interior design very loosely here, but I like mix and matching different styles. So like more modern, contemporary sort of aspects with more rustic aspects as well. I always think that makes for quite an interesting sort of living space too. But yes, those barn doors would be in my dream house for sure. But yeah, you can see this is a really big room, and a few things that we do end up adding in here. So we've got bookcases, there's a desk with a computer on, and also a piano too. I was gonna add some activities for the kids, but I'm going to be really honest, at this point in the video, I wasn't really sure. I knew the family was going to have kids, but I wasn't really sure what sort of age group I was going for, which is quite unusual for me, because usually I have that sort of cemented in my brain before I begin the build, so that I know how many bedrooms I'd like to add, how I'd like everything laid out. And then it also means that, you know, in the living spaces, if they've got a baby, for example, if you've got a baby in real life, chances are you have their toys and, you know, like baby clutter all across the house. So that's your bedroom, bits in the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room. And I like adding those items in my Sims builds as well. And one thing that I did not decide to do in the living space or the living space, the kitchen or the dining room is really allude to the fact that there are young kids in this house. And that is because what I ended up doing is I ended up having the 2 parents, and then they have a teenage daughter who still loves horses, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we do her room. And then they also have twin girls as well, who, of course, like, they're obsessed with the horses on the ranch. They're obsessed with horses in general. So we end up using a lot of items like beds with horse duvet covers on, and like horse rugs and things of that nature, just to kind of allude to the fact that these kids are just obsessed with horses. Because if you live on a ranch and you're young, chances are like you are gonna be obsessed with horses. And I'm obsessed with horses. I don't have a horse. I just think honestly they are the most magical creatures on the planet. They really, really are. My sister recently took me on a miniature horse experience at a farm that's relatively close to where I live. And as part of the experience, we actually got to see a couple of Shire horses that were sort of sharing the space with the miniature donkeys. And well, they weren't sharing the space, they were sharing the barn, but they were separated off. And I got really quite emotional when I was walking up to these Shire horses, because I was like, how are you from this world? Like there's no way. The eldest one, who was huge, I think her name was Athena, and she looked like a unicorn, honestly, and her nose was so soft. Honestly, I've always been obsessed with horses, And the fact that I even got to see them in real life was just such an amazing experience for me. And that's why my sister got me the experience. She got me it for my birthday a couple of years ago at this point, and we were waiting for the Shire experience. And unfortunately, like, the Shire experience never really like opened up, so we ended up swapping it out for the miniature horse experience. But it was really cool because we got to see some of the Shire horses anyway, which I thought was really nice. But yeah, so we got to like groom a tiny little miniature horse and like braid her hair and stuff. And if any of you know me, I'm not sure if I've ever spoken about this on the channel before actually. I've always wanted, like, my dream house, the house that I hope that my husband and I end up in one day, whether that's in 10 years or 15 years, is going to have some land that opens up, like, so you've got the house and then we've got a bit of land, and I would like 2 or 3 miniature horses. That's always been a dream of mine. And you know, I've said to him, I was like, I don't care what I need to do to make this happen, I'm going to make this happen. Like, we are going to open up our kitchen window and we will have like a little courtyard sort of thing and the miniature horses will just be there greeting us on the morning. Like, that's my dream. So the fact that I actually got to meet them in person, I was like, oh, you are so cute. Like, if anyone's ever seen miniature horses, like, Google it now if you're not familiar. I'm sure most of you are though. They're the cutest things I've ever seen. Honestly, they are. And then my husband was like, I think you've got like a bit of an obsession with miniature animals, because we've actually got a miniature dachshund, a miniature sausage dog called Harley. Although as he's got older, we're pretty sure he's not a miniature, but he's also not a standard. He's somewhere in between. I think they call them tweenies, which is really funny. And I also love basset hounds and corgis. I think I've just got like a thing for miniature animals. So my husband always makes fun of me for that, but I was like, I don't care what you say, we're gonna have these horses one day, I don't care. And he's just like, okay, that's fine. Anyway, I'm yapping on throughout the entirety of this living room, so for that I do apologize. But you can see we've kind of fleshed out the space really nicely. I also put another storage box in here because that corner was looking a little bit empty, and truth be told, I did not know what else to put in there. I hope that's okay. I think it works quite nicely, and it just means that maybe your Sims can store some stuff in there. Like, I don't know what you would store in there, but you can store some stuff in there. The piano I thought was a really nice touch, sort of a fun activity for your Sim families to get involved in. And then I also found some of these sort of wall decor pieces in the Horse Ranch catalogue, which I thought was kind of cool. So like the horseshoe, they look like they're made of metal, so you'll see them dotted around the house throughout the entire process. But I just thought they were like a really nice addition. And then someone's gonna laugh at me here, because in my previous video I'd actually spoken a little bit about the curtains in The Sims 4, and whilst it looks like we have a lot of them, most of them are horrendous. They're horrible. So I only have really, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 sets of curtains that I gravitate towards in my Sims builds, and I thought, oh, let's try something a little bit different here. So I attempted to use the ones that came with Horse Ranch, and they're nice, they are, but for some reason, and this happened in my previous video because someone was laughing at me because they were like, that is so relatable, it's hilarious. They started to really, really wind me up, and it happened again during this process, and I was like, those curtains are really grinding on me yet again, so now I'm going to have to change them. So I actually ended up using these ones again from the Cats and Dogs pack, but I had to use Tool to both size them down and shimmy them down onto like the tops of the windows as well, because I think by default those curtains are actually made for medium-sized windows with a medium-sized wall height. Anyway, the living room's done. The longest process, well, one of the longest processes of this entire build is done. Now we move on to the dining room. This came together really quickly, and something that I will say is when we're working on the hallway, like the entryway to the house, I actually end up I tried something off camera, okay? So I'll talk about it now, but I'll point it out when I'm in the hallway as well, because I thought it was so funny. I tried putting the dining room table on an angle, which in my brain, I was like, oh, that's going to look really good. And initially, that's exactly what I thought. And then I kept looking at it and I was like, no, this doesn't look good. This looks terrible. So I end up changing it back to the way that it is here and now. So I just thought it was worth mentioning, because if you see at any point, if we're working on another room and you're like, oh, the dining room table's on an angle and it wasn't before, like you might try it out and be like, oh, that looks really, really good. So I just thought it was worth mentioning, because I'm sure that it's something that somebody will notice and say to me, Rachel, what were you doing there? Or it might spark a little bit of inspiration. So if you do decide to download this and you put it on an angle, that might just work with how you like to see things like that, and that's perfectly fine. I was trying something new and it just didn't work, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The long and short of it is, anyway, the dining room is huge. Okay, I realized this when I was working on it, and there's a part of me that wishes that I'd turned this into the living room into the kitchen, and then the kitchen into the dining room. However, there's method to the madness here, in that I think if I had have made this the living room, I would have struggled to put in that big central fireplace that we have in the current living room. So I thought that worked a little bit better. But again, if you disagree, just make any changes that you would like, or just tell me. I love constructive feedback. I like it when people tell me, okay, that's fine, but I wouldn't have necessarily done that because of. And don't get me wrong, like, none of my builds are perfect. I always think at the time when I finish them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And then when I watch the footage back, it's the most interesting thing, because I start talking about the process and then I'm looking at it and then I'm like, oh no, like I could have definitely done something a little bit different there. And I always think that in terms of builds and things. So, my builds aren't perfect. I don't think anybody's are, but a lot of love and heart and soul goes into the build. So just know that. just know that. But anyway, yeah, the dining room came together really quickly. And I think because we'd added these big archways, I thought that helped definitely fill in some of the wall space that I tend to struggle with filling in big spaces. I've spoken about this on the channel many times. So again, if you are not new here, I apologize if I'm sounding like a broken record. But yeah, I often feel the need to fill in wall spaces. And I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not. I've heard many other creators in the community say exactly the same thing. I'm not entirely sure what it is in our brains where we kind of go, oh no, we absolutely cannot have a wall that looks blank. Like, we just can't. So yeah, my brain definitely works like that. Something else that I decided to add in here was like an angled wall, and I put in this fireplace from, I want to say it's from Snowy Escape randomly, but I thought it worked really nicely in here. And the only other fireplace I add in this build is in the main bedroom. So the main bedroom is massive, by the way. It's so unnecessarily huge, even with an ensuite. It's the funniest thing ever. And watching me try to decorate a main bedroom of such size was hilarious. It really, really was. And I'm not even sure of such size even made sense, but it's getting warmer and warmer in this house right now, and I feel like my brain is turning into scrambled egg. So you're going to have to bear with me, I'm afraid, for the duration of this video. But yeah, I think the dining room's done. I end up changing the centerpiece in the dining room off camera. I can't even remember, which plant I go for, but I know I put on 2 candles on either side of the plant. Like I think they're from Lovestruck randomly, but I like putting them on my dining room tables because I love candles on dining room tables. I've got them on. Do I have a candle on my dining room table? I've got a candle near my dining room table if I don't have one on it. I just can't remember right now. But yeah, living room's done, dining room's done, and then now we've moved on to the kitchen, staying with the very dark wooden theme and mixing and matching cabinets, because I love the kitchen set, the counters and the cabinets that we got with Horse Ranch, but unfortunately the cabinets that I like using above windows, they're not enclosed, so I feel like when you use them they look really repetitive and they don't look realistic. So I end up using these ones from Jungle Adventure instead. Do they match perfectly? No. Are they passable? I think so. I think they look quite nice. And then I also use this cooker and fridge from are these from the Country Kitchen kit in this dark green swatch? Because I have not used these in what seems like forever, but I just thought they worked so beautifully with the theme that we had going on in this ranch. I was like, if I'm not going to use them anytime soon, I need to use them here. And I knew that I wasn't necessarily going to use them anytime soon, but I really like how they looked in this kitchen. The kitchen, it scared me a little bit before I moved in here, because out of the 3 sort of main living spaces, it's the smallest one. But I think when you're in here, it doesn't feel small. You know, I think it's a really nice size for a kitchen, actually, and I think it works quite nicely. I also end up changing up the island a little bit so that I can centralize the sink. That was really important to me, because having it off center to the window and just everything else, and I didn't want to use a double sink in this kitchen. It wasn't looking right to me, so I'm glad I made that change. And I also love the kind of worn wooden effect on the top of these counters. I think they look so pretty, and they really do fit in with that ranch sort of theme. And then one thing I did end up doing in here is I ended up adding some brick detailing. So it's the detailing that kind of matches the brick detailing on the fireplace in the living room. So I just thought that worked kind of nicely. And this kitchen's actually quite cluttered, which I knew I wanted to try and achieve with this particular build, because just sort of thinking about the sort of family that I imagined would live here. They're very busy, you know, like running a ranch is a full-time job. I can imagine that it's just a full-time job. It's all systems go all the time. You've got 3 kids, you know. The house, it's not in disarray. I think they're very house proud, but I think potentially the kitchen is where, you know, people are cooking and baking and kids are coming in and out and this, that and the other. So it's probably not like the tidiest of places, although it is clean, I would imagine. So I just wanted I wanted to make sure I added plenty of sort of cluttering to the sides, but I'm hoping I did this. I ended up leaving 2 counters free so that your Sims can do the cook together option together. I think they can do the cook together option even if the counters aren't directly next to each other, as long as you have someone. Please jump in and correct me if I am wrong when I'm saying this. Even if you've got 2 like sort of not cluttered counters, they're free counters. Oh my goodness, what am I trying to say? If they're not next to one another, I'm pretty sure your Sims can still cook together. I'm hoping that's the case, because yeah, that's how I sort of laid everything out. I have 1 counter over here and then 1 counter just to the left as well. So there's 2 counters. Obviously, if they do need to be next to each other, then just move some clutter around. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning, because it's not something that I typically do in my kitchens, and it's always something that I think of after the fact. I'm always like, oh, I should have definitely kept 2 counters free, especially because, you know, one of my main things on the channel is building family houses for either big families or small families. And I think that's a really nice feature to have in The Sims, the cook together option. And if you download one of my builds, it's ironic that it's a feature that I often forget the most about, I would say. So I definitely had that in the forefront of my mind when I was trying to design this kitchen. Which I think, I do like this kitchen. It's got a really nice homey feel to it. And I do end up using a lot of items from the kitchen clutter kit as well. I've said this many times on the channel, where I was really pleased when that kit came out, because first of all, I love cluttering kitchens. I love cluttering in The Sims anyway, but I think cluttering in The Sims without the kitchen clutter kit is really difficult. And I think if you do that and you do it successfully, fair play, like all the power to you, because I'm not sure I would be able to do that now, genuinely. And I know when that kit came out, like the general consensus was, oh my goodness, I am so pleased that this has finally come out, because we needed some clutter for the kitchens. But yes. So yeah, I just end up adding a few more kind of details to the back, sort of like the back end of the kitchen. And I do add a pet bowl. I thought this family would have a dog, because like when I think ranch, I think cat and dog, to be fair, but I think more dog, and that's probably because I'm more of a dog person, which isn't necessarily fair. But yeah, if you wanted to put a cat in here, please feel free. The main bathroom is huge. There's definitely space for a litter tray, and there's definitely space across the house for cat toys as well, so it's no biggie. Speaking of the main bathroom being huge, I actually work on this next. So I think I work on this, then the bedrooms, and then I do the entryway like last is what I believe I do, which is quite unusual for me. I would usually do that after I've done the main living spaces like we've just done, but I've moved on to the main bathroom, which is kind of refreshing. And this bathroom's big, so I actually ended up giving them a shower bath combination as well as a corner bath as well, which I thought was kind of nice because it's not something that I can usually add in my bathrooms. My bathrooms are normally a lot smaller than this. So it was really nice for me to be able to add this in here. And I just thought, can you imagine sitting in that corner bath? It is a bath, isn't it? It's not like a jacuzzi or a mini hot tub, is it? I'm hoping that functions as a bath. But can you imagine sitting there with a glass of wine and just looking out onto that after you've had a day on the ranch? Like, please, you are living my dream, Sims. The Sims in this house are living my dream. They really, really are. I would love a bath this big. I would love a bath this big. I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about this. I think it's because it's a long voiceover. Listen, it's a long voiceover and there's things that we can talk about during this process. I love baths, but I honestly cannot tell you the last time I actually took the time for myself to have a bath. And I have a bath in my house. I do. But and there's not in the summer. I'd just like to say that because summers are brutal and I cannot think of anything worse than sitting in a hot bath in the middle of summer. But definitely in autumn, when the weather kind of starts to turn crispy, and in the winter, baths are really nice. Although I do struggle because I never often want to get out of them because I'm so warm. Because you just know the minute you step out of that bath, you are going to be freezing cold. So yes, definitely a bath person, but don't really have many baths. I'm definitely more of like a, let's just have a shower, get it done with, and then crack on with the rest of the day sort of thing. Anyway, the main bathroom's done, and then we very quickly decorate the ensuite off of the main bedroom. This honestly was such a quick process because there isn't much going on in here whatsoever. But again, we have the bath shower combination in here, the toilet, the sink, and everything else that your Sims would need to fulfill the needs that they require. So it's definitely a nice functional space. And I also thought if I hadn't have put this in here, I think I would have regretted it, just because look at the size of this bedroom. I think we just need to take a second, look at the size of the room, because I think before I put the bed in, it didn't look that bad. But now that the bed's there, are we all in agreement that this is a big ass bedroom? Like, please, it's so big. It's unnecessarily huge. And listen, I could have made some adjustments to make this slightly smaller and make the teen room slightly bigger, but I've just now realised that. I didn't realise that at the time. So this is what I was working with, which is exactly why I decided to include a nice big fireplace in here, because honestly, it just took up a really good amount of space and it definitely took the pressure off me when I was furnishing it. So one thing I did struggle in here, I struggled deciding on a rug to use. Are we surprised? No, probably not. It's just me being indecisive as per usual, but nonetheless, it's fine. That's where I grabbed the fireplace. I'm like, do you know what? Screw this. There's a fireplace going on in here. Like, it's just happening. It really is. I cannot remember for the life of me which rug I end up like definitely using, and I really don't think it's this one. I do not think it's this one. This rug is from the most random pack, and I can't remember off the top of my head which pack it's from. And it's a rug that I don't really ever use because, again, it needs to be used in the right setting. And I think it looks fine in here. It's just that it's not. I hope I don't keep it because I'm looking back now thinking I hate that rug. Like, I really do not like that rug. But that was just me remembering that I forgot to add the extra curtain rails to the curtains in the dining room. So I went back and remedied that. I want to know which rug I put in here. Genuinely, I do. But you'll see me sifting through the catalogue and trying to work out what else I can put in here to try and fill up the space. She's hilarious. Oh, yes, we end up landing on this rug from Horse Ranch. So we do introduce a little bit of blue in here, a little bit of like kind of sort of softened peachy orange, which is funny because we've only really got those colours in the bed area. They don't really kind of go anywhere else other than that. So there's a wardrobe in here. I was going to add a bookcase, and I'm pretty sure I delete that, and I end up adding a chest of drawers just in this corner, and I clutter that up pretty well, actually. I do put quite a lot of clutter on there. And then I wanted to add this like skinny wardrobe with the mirror, but I for some reason there isn't a matching swatch for the wardrobe, which is also from the same pack, which really, really irritates me when they do that. It's like, why would they not just all have the same swatches? Because for me, they're clearly part of the same group of furniture, so why would they not all have this, like, the same swatches? It's just irritating to me. But yeah, I was like, that's just horrendous. And what I end up doing over here is I just end up pushing the plant back rather than putting in a bookcase, because I think I had a pile of books on this chest of drawers, and I'm pretty sure I touched upon this in a recent video as well. I know the Sims team added an update fairly recently. I'm not going to say it's within the last couple of months or so, but fairly recently, where if you've got a pile of books in your house, your Sims can actually grab a book. Like, it basically works as a bookcase. I'm not sure if that's just from the pile of books from the base game, or whether it's from all the books in the catalogue. I'm really not sure. I think next time I'm playtesting, I really need to look at that, because I'm genuinely curious, unless someone can tell me otherwise in the comments down below. Thankfully, the main bedroom's finished, and now I can talk a little bit more about these kids' bedrooms, because they are so cute. So as you can see, before I accidentally deleted the entire room, tell me that none of you have done that before. I'll wait. I do it all the time. But yeah, so I was like, I need to use these horse duvet covers. Like, I just knew that that was something that I wanted to do in this space. It's so unbelievably cute. I think the fact that they live on the ranch and they're probably so involved with the horses, they're probably so involved with the horses that they help name them. If there's breeding going on, I think they help take care of the foals when they're born and things like that. I just think they are obsessed with the horses. They're horsey girls, which I absolutely love. And I don't think I've ever designed a kid's bedroom that's kind of been focused around horses, so it's super refreshing for me to be able to do this. And then with the teen bedroom as well, that was really fun, because it's still a horsey vibe, but there's more just kind of elements of horse rather than like in this room, because this is for the twin girls, who I assume are quite young. They're of like child age. There's definitely a different vibe going on in the teens room, and I think the horse theme is a lot more subtle than it is in here, so I thought it was kind of interesting and nice to see both of the different rooms. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that they had this dollhouse which came with Horse Ranch, which is, as you can see, it's a barn. It's the cutest little barn ever. And I don't know why I should have made it red, really. I'm pretty sure there's a red swatch, because how cute would that have been? Like, they have a miniature version of the outside barn in their bedroom. I think the reason I didn't do it is because we went for more of like a soft yellow and kind of green theme in here, rather than like pops of bright colours. But I don't think it would have made too much difference if I'd have made the barn red. I really don't. And I don't know why I didn't do that. I'm kicking myself now because I genuinely wish I had have done it. But it was quite a long, skinny room, so it was a little bit more difficult, I think, to decorate, but I think we made the best of it. And I'm not sure as well if I like the idea that these two are at the front of the house with these big floor-to-ceiling windows. I think in terms of realism, it probably doesn't work. Obviously, it's The Sims, so it doesn't matter. But if these were my kids, that's probably not where I would want them to sleep. Or like, maybe I would have changed up the windows on the ground floor. So maybe if you are like more into like the realism side of things, I would definitely recommend changing up the windows. But because it's The Sims, like, hopefully, I don't think anything happens. I don't even think like if they got burgled or anything like that, like the windows would really play a part in it. So I just thought it was worth mentioning, because it's something that crossed my mind when I was decorating the room, and it's just crossed my mind again, so I thought it was worth mentioning it. But yeah, we just had a few more wall decal pieces here, and this again is me feeling the need to decorate every little inch of the wall space. It's super exhausting, honestly. But while we're here, that clock from the Adventure Awaits pack is so unbelievably cute. I thought it kind of had a ranch feel to it, kind of loosely, which I thought was really nice. So I do end up adding that in here. And then I think just a couple more sort of decorative pieces, such as this like little cat calendar, and then another poster. And then I think that's pretty much it for this particular room. And I think then we move on to the teen room, if I'm not mistaken, which I think it's got to be my favorite bedroom of the entire house, easily. Yes, here it is. This bedroom, when I was having a look, when I'd finished the house, when I was playtesting everything, it's the room that I think I just gravitated the most towards. And I think it's potentially because I've always loved horses. I don't ever remember, I mean, I definitely didn't have like a horse themed bedroom per se, but I've no doubt when I was growing up that I had like elements of like horsey things in my room, you know, like toys or posters and things like that. I think it just kind of reminded me of my childhood, which was just really warming to me, honestly. I think I love decorating, especially kids' rooms that have like quite an obvious, what's the word I'm looking for, like theme. However, what I really enjoy doing is like slightly more, not challenging, because I don't think it's challenging the fact that she's a teenager who also still likes horses, but the challenge that you have is to differentiate this room between the room that we've just worked on for the twin girls who are children, is to kind of showcase, for me as a builder and who I thought would be living here, this is a teen, so they have to have more grown-up elements in the room. So the double bed, for example, the more grown-up furniture, there's kind of pops of color and kind of that teen element, but then also adding like the horse element, because I think potentially what this teen does now is she's starting to look at competing with horses. She potentially has a horse on the ranch that she's had since she was a child. She's learned how to ride on this horse. It's her heart horse. And now she's looking at, okay, I think I want to start competing. You know, maybe one day I want to be running this ranch or even my own ranch. And yeah, so sort of adding all those different elements to the room was just really exciting for me and something that I genuinely enjoyed doing as part of the process. Changing as well some of the lighting. So that light on the bedside table, I believe, is from, what's it called? With Granite Falls. Why is the pack escaping me? Whatever it's called with Granite Falls, that's the pack that little lamp is from. It'll come to me at some random point, I know it will, and people will be screaming at the screen right now saying, Rachel, it's... Nope, still not coming to me. I do apologise. I can only blame the heat and the fact that this is a long voiceover. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on it. But yeah, changing the bulb colour to pink. I love doing that in teens rooms. I tend to do it with the lava lamps, but then sometimes I'll also do it with like just a regular lamp as well. Because I've got Better Build By installed, I'm pretty sure it's part of that and not Tool. Basically, you shift and click on the light that you want to change the colour of. I'm only saying this because I'm getting this question quite a lot, and I don't mind answering it, by the way. I answer all my YouTube comments, but I just thought I would kind of say it. You press shift on your keyboard and then you left click, and then it brings up like the option that you have in live mode, whichever one you say is perfectly okay. And you can change the color, you can change the intensity of the light, you can change the color of the light. And honestly, for me, because I don't spend too much time in the gameplay aspect of The Sims 4, it's a really nice way for me as a builder to be able to add different kind of feelings to rooms, different color schemes, and it just makes it really easy for me to change the overall vibe of a room, of a house, whatever the case may be. So I can definitely recommend that both those mods by Twisted Mexi if you are looking to do the same thing in your game. Now, one thing that I was going to add in here, just because this is quite a big bedroom. I mean, it's not really a big bedroom. It's a very nicely sized bedroom. But because we've got this bump out here, usually I would have added some integrated wardrobes, but I didn't really want to do that here. Two reasons: because of where the door is, and that is the only place the door could be. Yeah, I'm just looking now. If I was going to add an integrated wardrobe, obviously it's the only place where the door can actually be, and I think it would have just looked a little bit too cramped, and I didn't want it to look like that. you know? So I think the only thing I end up doing here is add a clock on the wall. Now, what I'll do is I'll point out at the end of the video when we're doing the tour, the things that I added off camera to that room to make it more of like the grown-up horsey girl sort of room. And it really is just 2 items, genuinely. One of them is a big piece of wall art that I sized down and put on an angle with tulle. And then the other one was like a ribbon, like a prize ribbon from base game, I believe. So like, I'm thinking when she was younger, she used to enter pony championships and competitions and things like that, and she won one. But I was thinking when I'd finished that room, I was initially thinking that maybe the teenager has kind of outgrown the horse thing, and then I was like, no, she's not giving that vibe, especially after I've just decorated her bedroom. So I need to add those horsey elements back into the room in a really, really subtle way. So I'll make sure I point that out when we do the walkthrough. But now we're very quickly working on the entryway here. It's such a big space, and I did decide to separate it into 2 different rooms just because in my head that made the most sense. But there's still room if you wanted to. You just need to delete a few items to add those stairs. If you want access to the upper floor, perfectly fine, it's not a problem. Again, just not something that I really wanted to do. And look, can anyone see the dining room table on an angle? Can we all see it? What am I like? What am I actually like, honestly? And I think it looks nice. I do think it looks really good. But for some reason, it was scratching my brain, but not in a good way, like in completely the wrong way. So one day, I will add a dining room table on an angle in a house, and I will be happy with it, and it will look good. But after the hallway, what we end up doing is we end up moving on to that back room there. Initially, I was going to make it an office, but what I decided to do instead was to just add a chess table here. Again, another skill building and activity items for your sim to participate in, which is never a bad thing. And then I think on the other side, I literally just add, I think just either a couple of chairs or a love seat. I can't remember now. Oh, no, I'm pretty sure I end up changing that bench out for something completely different. I'm almost positive. Yeah, I try this one and then I'm like, nope, I don't like that. So then what do I put? Oh, yes, these chairs from Adventure Awaits. These look so good in this house. Does anyone agree? I just thought they fit the vibe really well, especially with this rug. And I know they don't match perfectly, but I still think they look really nice. Does anyone agree? Does anyone agree? Please agree with me. And then the artwork from Cottage Living, I very quickly take that down because I was like, no, it was just offending my eyes. And then what we end up quickly doing is we quickly end up decorating the front and back porches because I am terrible for forgetting to do this. I've been called out on this many times. Valid, fair, by the way. For some reason, I often end up forgetting about putting either some chairs out on the porch or some activities, whatever the case may be, I usually end up forgetting. So I thought with a ranch, you would definitely want these rocking chairs where your Sims can just chat, talk, look out onto the ranch and really just take in the views and just be thankful for the life that they have. So I was like, okay, I'll just put the same thing on either side, and I think it looks kind of nice actually, which is something that I wouldn't usually do. But anyway, then we quickly move on to the back here. This is where we add a couple more activities. I was thinking of adding a flower arranging station from Seasons, and I put it in, I put it down, and I was like, no, I don't like how that looks. It just looked a little bit out of place to me, but you could put one in the barn if you wanted to. You could put one somewhere else, or you could just put it where I was going to put it, because you're probably like not like me and think that doesn't look very good or that looks out of place. You're just here for a good time, okay? Unlike me. But yeah, that's the barbecue going in. I thought, oh, this family probably loves a really good barbecue out on the back deck. And then the bench is from Snowy Escape, I think. More planter boxes, and then just a picnic blanket under the big tree, I believe. Oh, we just put a bench there as well, I think, and then a rug. But that's pretty much it. So what we'll do is we'll hop back on into game and we will do the live walkthrough. So I will see you in just a second. Hello again, fancy seeing you here. So let's do a live walkthrough of our finished ranch. We finished it, we did it, we got through the hour and 20 minute nearly voiceover we made it. Thank you so much if you made it through this far to the video. So let's do a quick walkthrough. Look, can we just take a moment to appreciate the sim here that's grooming one of the horses, one of the test horses. We've got a test horse over here, and then we've got the other two horses over here. They're so cute. Look at this one. Oh, he's so cute. Okay, perfect. Right, okay, so we'll start over here. So this is where your sims would bring the horses to practice jumping, which I think is a really nice space. We've got some nice kind of views and everything like that over here. This is where we're growing the crops. So we do have a little sprinkler out just at the moment, watering some of the crops. I think if I would, I don't know whether I should add some more before I put this on the gallery. I'm not sure. I might do actually, because at the minute it's only watering like these, but it would be great if we could water a few more of them. Just got a few details around here. We've got our car with the little horse stall. Yeah, horse stall on wheels. Although looking at it, it looks a bit small to me. Maybe it's for ponies. I don't know. And then this is the kind of like more relaxed paddock. I can't remember if we added these on camera or off camera with the tractor. I want to say off camera. We've got a pile of hay here. The relaxed pasture, prairie grass galore, a ball for the horses to play with, access to the stalls as well, where each of them has hay and also a bed, and then water on the outside. We've also got this little area here, which offers nothing in terms of gameplay specifically, but I think in terms of realism, this is potentially where you'd bring the horses out to maybe tie them up, give them a brush, saddle them up, let them have a little bit of hay, perhaps, you know, give them a bit of a wash, a bit of a bath, whatever the case may be. And then let's have a quick look at our barn as well. So this is just extra sort of area for the animals to come in, whether that's horses or goats or whoever. Some storage boxes here as well, which I think is a really nice addition, and just general barn clutter really. And then if we move on back here, we have our barrel racing paddock. So this is where your sims can practice barrel racing with the horses. So that's really nice. But again, if you wanted to add chickens, cows, whatever out here, I would suggest deleting one of the barrel races, deleting one of these, moving one of these over here, and having this as just like one training paddock for the horses. And then you can have this as like a paddock for other animals, which I think is also a really nice idea. And then this is the house itself from the outside. Looking very swanky. So if we move on to the interior, we've literally just finished this, so I know that you're familiar with it, but let's do a quick run through nonetheless. So you walk in here, this is the entrance. Back here we have our chess table and just a little seating area. And then if we move to the right, we'll do the main living area first, and then we'll move on to the bedrooms. We have our dining room, our nice big spacious dining room with a lovely fire, a little seating area, and just some kind of generic sort of knick-knacky bits, decorative pieces. And then through here we have our living room, another big open space, but I think it works really well sort of with the theme of the house and everything like that. We've got our piano here as well. We've got plenty of bookcases too, a guitar even. A really cool space for your sims to hang out. And then we have our kitchen space over here. Like, look how cluttered and good this kitchen looks. I do quite like this kitchen, I must admit. Like, look at this like little baking clutter from the kitchen clutter kit. It's so nice. And I love the cooker and the fridge from the country kitchen kit. I'm pretty sure those are from. So that's our kitchen there. If you wanted to add a smaller dining room table in here instead of the island, that would also make sense in terms of gameplay. But if not, your sims just need to kind of walk through here and set up their food on this dining room table. Okay, and then if we move further over to the left, let's go with the main bathroom first. Sorry, look at the size of this bathroom. It's huge. It's huge. But I like that about it because it's in keeping with the rest of the house. And then we also have the twin girls' bedroom over here with like all of our horse themed items, all the animals as well. I think these two are just animal obsessed, but especially horse obsessed because obviously they do live on a ranch, so that's to be expected. And then we've also got our huge main bedroom here with a nice big fireplace. It's very simply and plainly decorated, but again, in keeping, I think, with the rest of the house. We've got our, look, horseshoe artwork over the bed as well, which I really like. And then they've also got their own ensuite as well, which is a nice addition. Can you imagine how big this room would have felt without this ensuite? And like, if I'd have pushed this back, we would have had an even bigger ensuite and a smaller bedroom. But I think it's nicer that the ensuite's this size, to be honest. And then lastly, this is the teen room. So I just want to point out the changes that I made in here that I was just talking about, because look, these are the two small items that I added in just to kind of show that she still loves her horses. She's now looking into competing, and yeah, I love that. So we've got the horse poster there, as well as the little ribbon that she probably won when she was younger, when she used to do, like, probably, like I said, pony competitions and things like that. But I love her room. I think this looks really, really nice overall. And then, of course, we've got the back porch here as well. So we've got, oh, I did keep that there. I kept the flower arranging station there. Look at me go. I'm actually really proud of myself, to be honest, because again, it's just something else for your Sims to do and to get stuck into on the farm. Maybe one of the parents likes to sell them, you know, like the flower arrangements and things. I'm not sure. They could grow some flowers back here. It's like all grown, like flowers grown on the farm, on the ranch, that potentially they could sell or whatever. Little seating area over here with a barbecue, and then look at this picnic table under here. I think we just all need to have a quick look, and you Sims can just look out onto there, really take in those views and enjoy each other's company. So that is it for this video today. I really hope you enjoyed this one, everyone. If you'd like to download this house, it's available from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just below. You can get them from SimFileShare. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here today. You all take care, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!